Good evening. I'd like to call to order the February 6th, 2025 special board meeting. Sorry, let me get back to my originally. Before we get started, I want to announce that tonight board members Jared Neal and Rose Ortiz will be participating via audio video conferencing. They are both absent for a qualifying reason under Board Policy 2-220, School Board Meeting Procedure. If there are no objections, we can continue. Okay. I'm going to now test audio and video for Jared and Rose. Can you guys see us?
Yes.
And can you hear us? All right. And we will proceed. And also, I'd like to, while we're doing this, Rose is our secretary, but tonight, since she's participating remotely, I'd like to appoint Gina Sanchez to be our secretary pro temp. Thank you for agreeing to do so. Does that cover all our housekeeping? Okay. Then I need a roll call, please.
Dr. Salemi.
Oh, actually, sorry.
Sorry. President Wazowski.
Here.
Vice President Boyd. Ortiz. Secretary Ortiz.
Here.
And Yazek. Neal.
Here.
Peronich. Here. And Sanchez.
And also present.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
Also present is Dr. Salemi, Mr. Barrett, Ms. Delfiaco, Mr. Gress, Mr. Kayasta, and Ms. Hanna.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, if you guys would join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next I need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the agenda as amended, moving the second reading and adoption of policy 7-10, equal educational opportunities, to action items with discussion and leaving all other items as presented. Moved by Mary, second by Cynthia. Yeah, and that was just at a request of our board members. We're moving that one off the consent agenda onto action item with discussion. Yeah. Any questions or concerns? Sorry, guys. Any questions or concerns? Okay. Roll call, please.
Boyd. And Yazek.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Ortiz.
Aye.
Peronich. Sanchez. And Wazowski.
Aye.
Okay, that's 6 ayes, 1 0.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, Boyd is that.
Okay, just making sure, and 0 nays.
Motion carries. Right.
Got it.
All right, you got it. All right, next we have audience comments. None. It's not quite an audience comments, but we don't have board recognition tonight, but we want to give a shout out to our awesome staff and teachers for weathering the cold weather these past couple of weeks. You've been outside at entrance and dismissals and salting and, doing everything, and it's been really cold. So we all appreciate all of that. I'm sure you guys have bundled and layers and warm coats and everything. So we appreciate that. Okay, next we have the consent agenda. The consent agenda. As a reminder, consent agenda items are those items, minutes, business, and personnel matters that are routine in nature. Any item may be moved to the consent agenda to action items with discussion. All items on the consent agenda are approved with a single motion unless removed before the roll call votes. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Moved by Cynthia. I'll second. And then tonight we have the regular board meeting minutes open and closed of January 16th, 2025. The second reading and adoption of policy 4-15, 6-60, 7-20, and 7-185. Any questions or concerns? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Boyd, Mezek,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Ortiz,
Aye.
Kernich. Aye. Sanchez, aye, and Wosowski.
Aye.
Motion
6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Motion carried. Yeah. Okay, now for the big event. We have discussion items with no action, and our first one is the State of the Schools presentation. So tonight, we start with our first one, which is the Westchester Intermediate School. Sean, the floor is yours if you want to get set up. And Rose and Jared, let us know if you can't hear anyone. I think we decided not to use the mic, is that right?
Yeah, I hope we don't need the mic.
Yeah.
You guys hear us?
But let us know.
Well, here,
Yep.
right now, I guess.
Yeah, they're giving you a thumbs up. All right. And we are going to hold all questions to the end. Okay, does that work?
Yeah.
And we've received questions which they're going to incorporate.
Perfect.
Yes, there were a couple of things that came up that we were just going to talk about as we go.
Perfect.
So Dr. Salemi, Ms. Delpiaco, President Wozlowski, and the school board, thank you for having us here tonight. We are looking forward to sharing how the intermediate journey has been going. There are some really good things that we've done over the last couple of years and this past year too. And there are some things that we're going to talk about where we've got some growth still to work on, and we'll share those things with you. But overall, there's a lot of really good things that we've been doing as a school. I'm excited to have my team here with me. They always represent us very well, and they have been a very insightful group over the last couple of years, talking about what we need to do as a team and just continuing to grow and learn as a school. So Jenny Berg, Bob Kong, Kumar Kayasta, who often is with us and offers outside of the box kind of questions for us so that we think about things in a different way a lot of times. Nancy is also on our team, but she's presently on an FMLA leave right now, but she would be here if that wasn't the case. Katie Mentone, Brittany Orth, Melanie Harris, and Laura Tabiri are all here this evening with us to just kind of talk about what we've been doing. And as with Dr. Slemy and Ms. Delfiaco earlier this year, we're just going to jump right into the data piece. Again, as they shared with you earlier, we did get commendable again, which was really cool, which just means that the majority of our kids are continuing to do well. Our subgroups are doing okay, and which is a good thing. I mean, I think overall our number went down a little bit, but that's okay. We were still well above the average, so we were still happy with that. We just, as we talk about our data and stuff like that, you'll see some areas where we just know we need to strengthen ourselves. Our enrollment's pretty steady. We are these numbers are a little bit lower from where we are. Actually, we have about 330 students in the building now, so we're up actually from last year, which is great. I mean, we have a lot of kids coming in. Our ethnicity groups continue to be pretty stable. Our Hispanic group is continuing to grow, which is exciting. We have a lot of fun kids that keep coming in. We've had a lot of move-ins and things like that over the last few months. So as far as our student characteristics go, we continue to be, our low-income numbers continue to be higher. Our English language learners and our student IEP numbers are actually down this year, which is really cool. One of the exciting things from last year that was really nice is we did have 16 of our students who are English language learners who did exit due to their access scores and things like that, which that was really cool. That's probably the highest number we've had exit in a very long time. So we were really excited about that, and we'll see how this year goes. Our student with IEP numbers are also down, although we'll see how that goes as the year goes on, but that was nice to see that we did have a decrease in that. Mobility and student attendance, there's a tiny little change from those, or both of those are down just a little bit, but it's not like a huge difference. So we continue our kids who come to us, they stay with us. And our attendance continues to be pretty solid as kids come in school. So, which is where we need them to be. We want them at school, where we can help them learn the best they can. And as you can see, like our chronic absenteeism continues to be pretty low compared to the state. There's been more illnesses and things like that over the last year. So we do have kids who have had absences because of things like that. But the numbers are still pretty low, and we're pretty happy with our kids that keep coming. So. And then our designation, as I said earlier, we did stay commendable, which means we continue to be above the state average. We continue to keep moving forward. And our kids are doing okay, but we did see an impact because of some of our growth and our proficiency. So that's the reason it's a little bit lower than it was last year, which we'll talk about that. Our ELA growth, again, like we got 75% of the way towards the growth we should get. So again, like the majority of our kids did grow. When you see the cohort score later on, like the majority of our kids did continue to grow as a whole. The proficiency is where we stumbled a little bit, and we'll talk some more about that. We're still not seeing the proficiency level, so our kids at grade level as much as we want them to be. Our math growth this past year was a little bit more stagnant than we would have liked. We've seen a lot better growth in math than previous years. So we did spend time at the end of the year and then throughout this year doing some things to kind of make sure that we were shoring up how math growth was going. And when we actually talked about our winter MAP scores, there was some nice success there with our math. So you'll see just the impact of some of the things that we adjusted. And then our proficiency for math, again, it was a little bit lower than we would have liked. Our kids, we've seen better progress for them in math in the past few years, and so we were a little bit off on it. But we're still well above where the state average is for that. So, I mean, so that is good as far as like our kids making some of those targets in those subgroups. Is that okay? Can you guys hear? Is that still good?
You guys can hear?
Okay, all right. So our growth, this was our cohort growth. So this was our kids overall, just as all of our kids together. And we were above the state average. About 53% of our kids continue to show growth in math and in ELA, and then 52% in math. So we're above, but again, we'd like that number to be much higher. And then the proficiency, so students being at grade level in ELA and math, I mean, that's the spots where we're still not seeing them getting to that grade level standard that we want them to be at. When we talk about reading and things like that later on you'll see the things that we're doing to address that, because we need that to be better. And as a school, just as a team, and all of our teachers together, like we recognize that, and we all want our kids to be moving forward. So, and then math, we did not grow as much as we would have liked, so we did make some adjustments to how we're handling our math instruction this year, and some of the things we have students practicing independently to help us bump that back up to the growth we've seen in the past. The really great thing was science. Like we went back to explicit instruction for science. We had been trying it a little bit different with integrating it, and we weren't seeing the kind of growth we wanted to, so we went back to just having it have its own time, be explicitly taught, and we immediately saw our kids do better. So we know that that's good, strong, explicit instruction, independent practice, and things like that does have a great impact on what students do. So that's where we are as far as our proficiency goes. And then current reality. So now I'm going to turn it over to the rest of my crew, and they are going to share where our current reality is and how we are addressing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for math, as you can see, our third grade exceeded their growth expectations here by 4.4 points, which makes their growth 12 points from fall to winter, which currently puts their score 0.7 of a point away from grade level. We also had 45% of our students performing at grade level, which is up 25% from fall. 21 or 17.5% of our third graders are achieving at or above the 80th percentile. For fourth grade, they also exceeded their growth expectations by 2.5 points from fall to winter, which puts them 3 points above grade level currently. We currently have 68% performing at grade level, which is up 15% from fall, and 24 or 22% of our fourth graders are currently achieving at or above that 80th percent. Our fifth graders also exceeded their growth target expectations for fall to winter as well by 2.6 points from fall to winter. We have 41% of our fifth graders that are currently performing at grade level, which is up 10% from the fall. And we have 20 or 18% of our fifth graders currently achieving at or above that 80th percentile. As you can see, our school conditional growth percentile for third, fourth, and fifth grade are 99 percentile, the 99th percentile, and the 95th percentile. This means that the growth was that much greater than that of similar schools that took NWEA. As for our accelerated students, our second graders in third grade math, 6 out of 7 met their growth targets from fall to winter. Our third graders in fourth grade math, we had 8 out of our 9 students in that group met their growth targets. Our fourth graders in fifth grade, 9 out of those 15 students met their growth targets. And our fifth graders in sixth grade math, 10 out of the 16 of them met their growth targets as well. So as we continue to think about how we can improve our data, later we'll talk about small group instruction, Forefront for data analysis, Reflex Math for foundational skills, and more.
And for reading, third grade grew 8 points from fall to winter, exceeding their growth targets by 0.6 of a point. 52% of their students met their growth projections, and their achievement percentile increased by 4%. Fourth grade grew 5 points from fall to winter, but fell short on their growth target by a point. 46% of students met their growth targets. And for fifth, students grew 3 points, but also fell short of meeting their growth by 2 points. 44% of students met their growth goal in fifth. And in regards to our school conditional growth percentiles and how we're comparing to other schools taking math, our growth was 69% for third, 13% for fourth, and 6% for fifth. And in terms of how many students exceeded at 80% or above, we had 21 students in third, 16 in fourth, and 9 in fifth. And in the upcoming slides, we will be discussing how we are shifting our instruction and reading comprehension, our plans for small group instruction, and fluency instruction for students who are at grade level and below grade level.
So these are our intervention numbers for this year. And so for math, we're still using Bridges intervention this year. And we did have some of our students for math exit that tier 3 status and enter tier 2 from fall to winter, which is always great. We had some new students move into our district this year in between that fall and winter cycle, which we did end up having to move into our tier 3 groups as well. We also were able to increase the number of groups that we're seeing in the winter cycle as we were a little bit more creative to be able to see some more groups this time around. And then we were also able to increase the number of students that are receiving both that math and reading intervention from fall to winter as well.
And for reading, we are continuing to use skill-based interventions for our students. We also had an increase in students receiving tier 3 interventions due to some new move-ins. And we did have 3 students needing tier 3 support instead of tier 2. And we'll discuss further as well how we're shifting some of our tier 2 and tier 3 intervention.
So this is our win time slide. And as you guys know from Phil and Stephanie's IR presentation, they kind of talked to you about how we at WIS decided to tackle win time a little bit differently this fall. And that was because we wanted to help all of our students get what they need and to help our teachers get a little bit more time to handle their small groups in their classrooms. And so we started by looking at each of the students' math data and breaking it down by individual strand. And then we took each of their individual strands and looked at each student's lowest math strand and grouped them accordingly. So every student was getting exactly what they needed in that win group. Then each win rotation for math and reading we started in the fall was 3 weeks long, and they each got 6 40-minute sessions at a time. And then as you can see here, the math groups were very successful. These numbers are the average RIT score by growth, by instructional area. So the expected growth per strand for third grade from fall to winter is only 7.6 points. And for fourth grade, it's 6.5 points. And for fifth grade, it's 5.4 points. So as you can see, they've more than doubled those categories for that RIT band that they worked on in their win groups.
And for reading, we also split up our groups based on their greatest need. And our comprehension groups were sorted by writ, and our phonics and fluency groups were determined based on their fluency scores and our benchmark assessment with Star Phonics. And for reading for phonics, all grade levels grew an average of 1 to 2 concepts or gained mastery or more understanding of those concepts during WIN. Students are expected to retain 6 concepts in a school year, so 3 concepts is typical growth for fall winter for phonics. For fluency for third, the average growth from fall to winter is 23 words per minute, and third grade grew 22.7 words per minute. The average word per minute growth for fourth is 18 words, and fourth grew 24. Fifth grew 15 words per minute, and the average from fall to winter is 16. So fifth was almost a target for their fluency. And for comprehension, third grade grew an average of 12.7 writ points, and the expected growth is 7.4. Fourth grew an average of 8.9 points, and the expected growth is 5.9. And fifth grew 6.7 writ points, and the expected growth is 4.7. And teachers just created analysis plans for reading to break down the greatest area of need for our students for our upcoming winter WIN groups. And this analysis will support adjustments that need to be made in teaching these concepts in small group during their core time as well. For example, those students in need of expedited mastery of phonics concepts would need further instruction within the core classroom time and frequent formative assessment check-ins to assess their understanding. For those students receiving full-out interventions for Tier 2 and Tier 3 students, the interventionists and I have also been meeting to discuss adjustments needed for our interventions and support practice of those concepts in the classrooms during their core and small group instruction and independent practice. We are also shifting what we are using to have students apply and practice a skill, and planning and creating formative assessments to assess understanding of the skill.
So, and then as far as like our social emotional learning goals go, our behavior data is up there. I know one of the questions came up about the disruptive behaviors and just how we handle that. And just for frame of reference, like disruptive behavior does encompass a lot of different kinds of things. So it could be like kids who don't raise their hands before they blurt out something in class. It could be kids who aren't walking in the hallway in the best way. And a lot of those are even recess based, where like they're not playing in the area they're supposed to be in. They're not necessarily going in, lining up the way they should. It takes too many times for them to get in line. So it does run a lot of, and if you look down at like the lunch detention number, it's really close to the disruptive behavior for a reason, because a lot of the, and it's not a lot of the same students. If you look, we do have, it's just 8 students out of our 330 kids that have repetitive referrals. So the majority of the kids, I can take them in for a lunch or a recess detention, and we do some reteaching. We talk about what they're supposed to do. We do some practice and things like that if we need to. And that tends to take care of the disruptive behavior when it's that based. And then the classroom based things, it's, again, those disruptive behaviors are more kind of frequent, annoying kind of behaviors, to where it's not necessarily disrupting the learning environment in a big way, but it's kids who maybe don't manage their space very well. So they move a lot. And sometimes that can be distracting to them, but it's not necessarily something that throws everybody off, but it's still something to where we want to document, talk to the parents about, so that they know, like, they're pretty good overall. We realize they're not doing this on purpose, but they definitely blurt a lot, they move a lot, they spin in their stand, and, so they just have a hard time kind of managing their spatial awareness. So a lot of those come from that. So I think that's why that number is our biggest one, just because those kind of, they tend to be more minor based behaviors that just need a lot of reteaching and a lot of practice. But in each case, like, we are talking with parents, we are working with them on what we need to do. If it is super repetitive, we'll do student support meetings and we'll come up with plans. And we have kids who have goals and charts and things like that to help them kind of learn to manage those more active behaviors, which those tend to be. The battery of a staff member, I know that one came up a couple of times, and in two of the cases, I will say, like, parents were very involved with us when those things happen. We don't want anything like that to go on. One of them involved some discipline that was done for suspension, meeting with the parents. Students have been fine ever since. Without getting too much detail, the second one did result in a student having to be placed in another location. But in both cases, parents were very involved, they were very supportive, and we worked very quickly with them to make sure that we were taking care of just that much dysregulation for a student. So the rest of it, we've been very focused on reteaching expectations all along the way. I've had a SEL group that I've worked with. I'm going to start a second one in another couple of weeks. In about 2 weeks, I should have that one up and going. And then obviously Ms. Menthon and I are a lot together. So share a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So I can talk a little bit about this. So something that Sean and I have been working on, we worked on it a lot over the summer, but we did create a universal think sheet for our school, just so every classroom has some sort of action that they can do when a behavior arises. And a think sheet is just so important. It doesn't always solve the behavior, but it gets the student to think about their behavior and what can they do better next time. And also one of the questions on there is taking responsibility. What can I do to make this better? And I think our students at their age, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, they need to start taking responsibility for their actions. So the think sheet is just great to have across all grade levels. It is the same. There's some different variations of it for some different students, but it is the same language throughout the building, which is super important as well. Just having that common language, the students know the expectations and they're not very confused if a teacher comes up and tells them something. But that obviously is not all that's being done in the classroom, right? You can't just do a think sheet and think it's going to get better. There's a lot of reteaching of expectations, modeling the expectations, student meeting with the teacher if it continues to escalate, obviously reviewing the expectations with Sean or I. That does come there. But again, we do follow the discipline matrix that that was sent out over the summer. So we do follow that and go down that order as to what we have to do with the student. But I'm just going to talk quickly about kind of what I do when students need my help. So obviously we have different tiered interventions. Tier 1 offered for all students. Teachers put responsive classroom into their teaching. So morning meeting, closing circle, quiet time, calm corner, those are all integrated into everyone's classroom. And this year, kind of made sure that calm corners were in every classroom. I created visuals and everything. So it was just, again, that common language throughout the building. SEL is taught every Wednesday for 30 minutes. So every classroom does that. And then I also provide lessons for teachers. So I do Bully Prevention Month, Red Ribbon Week. I did a size of the problem, conflict resolution, that's a big one. And obviously if teachers reach out, I am more than willing to share what I have. And then how are students recommended for social work services? So obviously parents or teachers can reach out to me. Of course, I always need parent permission before I meet with any student, but I will take what the teacher says to me into consideration, and then I will reach out to the parent. And sometimes it's not as big of a deal. Maybe they just need a quick check-in, a little talk to, and we're able to get through to them. The SABRE screener, I've talked about that. That is just the social emotional screener that all the students take and teachers. And it just kind of brings up some students that might be struggling that we don't know about. And then obviously I have a form, my Google form. It is still up and running, and students are able to fill that out if they ever just have an issue going on at home or in the classroom that they just need a little more guidance with. And then what services do I provide our students? So I do a combination of push in, pull out support. So I push into classrooms and help those students. And I also support the teachers when I'm in there as well. And then obviously I pull out individual students or a small group, and we work on certain goals. So is that self-regulation, self-control, impulsivity, anger. And sometimes these groups are only 6 weeks and it's during their lunch. And it's a fun little lunch group that we do, but we're learning. And it's a fun way to just get the students engaged and learn new adults in the building that they can maybe, have a good relationship with. Sean already talked a little bit about the charts that different students are on. So we have a few students that are on check-in, check-out charts or self and match. And these just hold students accountable, really. I set goals with the students. If they meet them that day, they get a reward. If they don't, they're accountable for their actions. They can talk to me about what happened, what went wrong. So just, again, taking that responsibility. I also provide students with visuals and social stories just to help them throughout the day. And then obviously I am trained to help students who are in crisis. So I am there when they need me, when they need to go to a safe space to just kind of, let everything out. That is what I am there for. I also consult with teachers, administrators, and parents to create plans for students to be successful in the classroom. I utilize everyday speech, which is amazing, has great interactive videos for my students. And my final thing is, in order for students to be successful academically, they need their social emotional needs met first. Because if they're not regulated, they're not ready to learn. So.
And along with our inclusive environment, along with everything that Katie does, having Ms. Cartwright with us too has been a great help this year. Just have, even with part-time, it's great having another social worker in there to help support students to a greater degree. We're getting to more students than we would have if it was just she and me, so her and me. So, but the other thing, I do want to highlight some of the student activities. We have some teachers, they've run the Husky Helpers Club, Miss Hannah and Ms. Querin, they have run that this year. They've done some nice things, just trying to inspire kindness in the building. Right now, we have a little bucket in the office and students come in and they put little notes in there to celebrate someone who's been kind to them, and I read them out along with my morning announcements. Our student council has also done some nice things with fundraisers and things like that to bring, just support that kindness part that we want kids to grow and be a part of. So the students have taken some nice ownership with your guidance. So that's hopefully in the long run, that's done to also help impact some of those things. And then the rest of our content.
I'm going to just talk a little bit about our current reality. We're going to start off with our school-wide growth incentives. So this year, we had a whole school incentive for math testing. As a school, we set an 8-point growth goal and got buy-in from the students by hyping it up, putting up posters, and promising a reward, all-school celebration if you met that goal. This was partnered with our newly structured win time this year, as Brittany and Laura have already talked about. After fall map testing, we dug into that data to identify the areas of highest need for each student, and then based our groups on that information to structure our win time. Again, as Brittany and Laura presented, we did achieve some huge gains in math and did make our 8-point growth goal, but unfortunately didn't reach our reading goal, but that's okay. Let's set a new goal and try again in the spring. We also started using Lumos for targeted instruction during these win times. In order to increase student readiness for IAR testing, this will ultimately help with test strategies, stamina for the students, and then just to have some familiarity with those state testings on the computers. Melanie, Bob, and I will now discuss our current reality for our small group instruction during core. While we have WIN 2 days a week and our small group 2 days a week, it has been a challenge to consistently fit in small group instruction during our reading core. However, we have dedicated ourselves to learn from each other to become more successful with this. We are using our learning labs to observe small group instruction using a variety of strategies that my colleagues will dig deeper into in a minute. And we are discussing small group instruction during our PLTs, our faculty meetings, and professional development days. We are committed to trying new ideas to reach student success. On the flip side, we are more successful getting to small group instruction during our math core, as it lends itself to include small group multiple times per week. Melanie and Bob will break down what small group instruction looks like, including how we identify student learning gaps, what the lessons entail, and the resources that we use. So I will now hand it off to Melanie to go over reading group instruction.
Hello. So during reading small groups, we focus on various skills to strengthen students' decoding, fluency, and comprehension. We use a variety of tools to help identify skills or standards students are ready to work on next. Some of these tools include formative assessments, like our HMH module assessments with forefront data, and selection comprehension quizzes. It can also include formative assessments from class discussions. We also use data from benchmarking. That includes students' fluency with FastBridge CBM, decoding with Starphonics, and map testing data. We are now introducing Lumos into our WIN and core instruction. The school strives to meet with students in small groups on a weekly basis. While we share students for WIN twice a week, that leaves teachers with 3 days a week for opportunities to have their reading small groups. Teachers can incorporate small groups during 10 to 15 minutes before reading as well. These groups can include extending their understanding of skills in core or fundamental reading skills that the students need additional support in. We use different resources like Rigby Readers, Race Strategy Practice, Jennifer Saravella's Strategies, OG, ReadWorks, Newsella, and more. We supplement this with graphic organizers and anchor charts to support students building these skills. To help with student engagement, the school surveyed students' interest with reading. Most students shared that they do enjoy reading, but they also want to feel more connected and engaged with their reading experiences. Now, Bob will share about math small group.
I will now briefly describe how and what we do in small group math instruction. Teachers analyze both formative and summative assessment data to guide their instruction and meet the diverse needs of our students. We use exit tickets, student book pages, and informal observations to understand their understanding. For summative assessments, we review unit screeners before each unit begins, post assessments, and biweekly checkpoints to determine areas of focus before forming small groups. Teachers also use forefront data collectively to gather insights and information into students' needs. When creating WIN groups within each grade level, we consider students' weakest math strengths and place them in targeted groups such as numbers and operations and algebraic thinking or measurement and data. Recently, we started using the Lumos app, which provides individualized practice plans for students during WIN. Other effective programs like Reflex Math and IXL also align students' practice skills with their math scores or their progress within the program. We strive to meet with small groups daily or at least 3 times a week during their independent work time. While students work on bridges workplaces, workplace games, or concept class challenge problems, we pool small groups to provide targeted instruction. Students use hands-on manipulatives such as base-10 pieces, grid papers, drill boards, and dry erase boards to reinforce their understanding of math concepts in small groups. We also incorporate Bridges intervention materials with the accompanying manipulatives to further support their learning. Overall, our Bridges program is well structured and the students are enjoying the activities while finding their skill areas meaningful and relevant because we try to help them at their own pace and progress.
Talk a little bit real quick about our science and social studies instruction update. So it plays our science and social studies play a huge role in our student engagement and also to help with their learning. For example, for science, we're using Mystery Science, which includes an interactive video and experiment or an activity per lesson, and the students really love that. Also for science and social studies instruction, we're using engaging texts, where the students can practice application of text features, text structures, going back into a text to find evidence and answer questions, and then also application of the race strategy. So put in a lot of cross-curricular activities as well.
Can we answer for you?
All right. You guys, make sure you wave your hand so I can see if you have questions.
I feel like
We're all
backing up.
getting further away. So,
I'll start a question log, but does anyone want to go first?
Stephanie's there. She's locked out. I'm sorry. She's trying to get a hold of someone.
Can someone
I got her.
Stephanie
I got
in? Thank you. Okay. Did she text you?
She's texting me.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
me too. I didn't notice.
Perfect. All right, Stephanie is joining us. She had a work engagement. All right, so Rose, go for it.
Or Gina? Yes.
Sorry.
Okay. No, I'm in Rose's spot.
You
so
are in Rose's spot.
I just
Gina,
wanted to
sorry.
start, if I can, with some like major celebrations and the growth data. I saw some really great movement, and then in areas that we're not growing as much as you mentioned, you would like us to grow. Just like you're already thinking about how you're going to plan for that. You're giving yourself time in the classroom, 5 opportunities a week. You're finding time for PLCs, you call them. BLTs, I'm sorry. I was making a joke. I'm sorry. And I just think that all of those things are recipes for really seeing growth. If we stay at it, it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. There were some other celebrations. From the last year to this year, I see a new emphasis on skill-based groupings, small group support, lots of thought put into improving proficiency. And your entire presentation was like, this is what's happening and this is what we're doing about it. And I just really love hearing all of that. It makes our job easier as board members. Can I ask a really silly question? When you say core, can you tell me what that means?
Oh, that's our HMH and Bridges curriculum. So those are our core curriculum.
Is that ELA block?
Or is it ELA?
Yeah. So in that reference, yeah. So we have a core math block. We have
That's what I wanted to make sure. And then I wanted to ask how you feel, and this is written down, but I want to have it come more natural, but what is the integrity of your tier 1 instruction? Like, how are you managing to keep tier 1 where all kids are getting the needs of grade level? And then also having those small group times, whether it's win or not, to still get that skill-based practice in. And furthermore, is everyone in a skill group, a small group? It's not just intervention kids, it's also kids who are enrichment, right? Okay, I'll stop talking now.
So during that win time, for every grade level, every kid is in a win-based group, depending on what they need, so that those tiered students are getting pull-out intervention at that time, and then every kid in the entire grade level is getting what they need at that time, whether it's those students that are in the 95th percentile are still getting what they need at their skill deficit area.
Good.
So every single kid in the building is getting some type of intervention, whether it's a higher intervention or a lower intervention.
Got it. And then just speak to really quick the integrity of your tier 1 instruction, making sure, because sometimes we as teachers feel like we have to take away from one to give to the other. And I'm checking in to make sure that's not happening, or if it is, how you're balancing it.
So for math instruction, they're given 90, we have this daily schedules. So math is given 90 minutes a day. We have a number corner piece of that, which is given 30 minutes, and then which is still part of their core math block. And then there is 60 minutes for the actual lesson part, and that is like coveted math block time. It is not taken at all. And then reading.
ELA is the same.
ELA is the same, yeah.
I mean, we have like a
35 minutes up for ELA.
Allowed, yeah.
And we,
Give or take, yeah.
and we definitely discussed within our framework, keeping to the time where you have your shared reading time and your mini lesson, and pulling your small groups, and also knowing that it's going to be differentiated for each teacher based on the needs of the student. So if a classroom needs more foundational skills or phonics, whole group, that classroom, that teacher knows that they're going to spend more time on that in their core instruction, tier 1 instruction. So we do balance exposure to grade level and also providing the students skill-based and practice with what they need to do in the classroom outside of that one time within core instruction.
Wonderful, thank you. I think that's really all of my questions.
Okay, Cynthia, you were next, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing what you guys are doing, but I wanted to focus more on the small groups that you guys said you were working with and what the parent response is when you're working with a group of disruptive children or, children that have a lot of referrals. What's the parent response? My kid,
Right, they're supportive. They'll come in and meet with me if I ask them to. I think the same thing's true for Ms. Mentone. We do our best to work together to figure out what's going to be the best way for them to be successful in class. And a lot of those, over the years, like the disruptive behaviors have become more of those little, just as a classroom teacher, it is more of those things where they just don't sit still very well, and They don't necessarily raise their hand, and some of those things are just social skills, things that we've seen, I think over the last few years, just, I think their social skills are just, they're not as good as I feel like, they used to be, I think, and so they don't necessarily, you feel great, thanks, that was true.
They're changing.
Right, so I think a lot of what we have to do with them is helping them to, we're very explicit with them about, like, this is how you need to raise your hand, this is how you can come into the classroom, this is how you don't come in from the hallway sliding into the room, it's not how I mean, and after a couple of times of teaching that to a student, they tend to get it. So a lot of that is about us just meeting them where they are, but then also having high expectation that you're at school, this is what that needs to look like, this is what you need to do, but also recognizing that for some students, sometimes that is not necessarily within their control. So then we're working with their families to kind of figure out, okay, what can we do to support them? So it's, but I would say, and just for me and my experience in working with parents, I find most often they are very supportive of what we do. They are very helping us because they want the same thing too. They want to be successful. And at the same time, they respect that every kid in the building has the right to come to a school where they can be the best. So,
the other thing that I wanted to follow, just kudos to the group, is so not also like teaching them and reinforcing it, but telling them why. Like, why do we have to do it this way? Melanie gave a survey to her students, and it's the perfect thing to do. And do you want to talk a little bit about what you did?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to stop. But
My face is probably red now.
I do feel that since you've had
this year, I think I've definitely learned how to use my words to not make it feel like the kids are being punished, but I'm trying to help everyone stay on track, and I want them to have ownership. And one thing I did when they were very talkative at the beginning of the year, very typical, and I put out a form that said, when do you hear the most talking? What can you do to help the class quiet down?
How does it make you feel?
Yeah, how does it make you feel? That way the kids could recognize that, oh, my talking to me is just me making a joke, but really it's irritating, like the rest of the class who's trying to learn. So I really want them to take ownership and lead them on that path, not me just constantly, you do this, you do that, but it's like a partnership and success. And I connect it to life too. I'm like, as an adult, like, so I just make those connections, and I think they're buying into it, which makes my job easier too. So
yeah, and again, it's that why,
yeah.
Right? Kids, I don't know if it was so much when we were growing up, but if they need to know why we're doing something. Why do I have to learn that? That's all I hear at my house. Why do I learn this? Why do I learn this? I'm never going to use this. Yeah, you might. You don't know, right? But they want to know why, or they don't think it's important to them. And I really think that that's what we're really looking at in all the buildings is not just telling them what they have to do, but why do we have to do it? Because then they can internalize it. And having your peers tell you, like 94% of the kids said, I'm bothered when you talk. They didn't know who said it, but 94% said, I don't like when you talk out. And that's when it affects them, right? When your peers are telling you, I can't learn because you're talking. Not when the teacher, the teacher, we're just chirping at them. But when you hear from your peers saying, I don't like when you do this, that's what makes change in behavior, right?
Did we answer your question?
Yeah. Anyone else have one? Did you guys have any?
I have a question.
Sure.
With regard to the student behaviors, I think it's great that 95% of students have 0 referrals this year. And it sounds like Ms. Mentone's put together a really comprehensive program of supports. I'm just wondering if because I know that the 8 students with 5 or more referrals, that can really sometimes wreak havoc on teacher morale, whoever has those 8 students, as well as the classroom environment. So I'm just wondering if you're noticing that the interventions are effective and that those numbers are kind of going down as the year goes on, and if they're not, I'm wondering if there's anything else that is needed that maybe admin or the board can do to support.
I think for most of our students, depending, and Ms. Mento could probably chime in too, but I think for the majority of our students, when we have that, when those 8 kids that are like that, they, depending on the types of behaviors I do think we see growth over time. But sometimes that growth is a little bit slower, depending on what their needs are. But I would say I know for the kids that I'm working with as far as like their classroom stuff, they have grown and those behaviors have lessened. Uh, you know, there's less times that I have to talk with them or Ms. Mentone has to talk with them. And not that they don't ebb and flow sometimes. I mean, with some of those behaviors, especially with students who can become emotionally dysregulated for whatever reason. I mean, they'll hold it together, be on a positive path, and then something will happen either outside of school or they'll get frustrated by something in class, and then they'll have a moment, we'll work them through it, and then they'll get back to being on track. So I do think over time, from whether it's from third grade, I think about some of our third graders who were strugglers and where they're at now, and they're light years from where they were in third grade. I know that we have some fourth graders even last year who really struggled with some things, but this year they're almost like completely different kids. So a big part of that is like once they trust us and they realize, no, we're here for you. We're good. We're a safe place. We'll help you get where you need to go. But these are the things you need to do. There is good growth and progress, but for sometimes depending on the behavior, it does take a little bit more time. But we, again, like we're always working with the parents. We're adjusting plans as needed, whatever that looks like. We work our way through with Dr. Slemy, with Miss Moran, like if there's things that we need to do with that, like we follow the path to get them the greatest supports that we can. So,
Sean, are those the 8 students that are, how many, you talked about a group you're seeing, are any of those 8 in the group that you have?
The kids that I'm seeing are the ones who are more from the repetitive behavior, that small group that I was doing because they had similar classroom-based behaviors. The kids that 8, I do a lot more like one-on-one kind of check-ins with them. And the same thing, Ms. Mentone will do the same thing with them. Like there are kids that we just make sure, like I see them in the morning, do a talk to them. Hey, what's it going to look like today? Like you're going to do great. Like, you know, with some of those kids, we constantly having that positive connection with them. So that way, if we do have to, if I have to have a conversation with them that's discipline related, they know it's not personal. You know, we love you, but you can't do this, you know, and that's the place that we come from for them so that they know like we need you to grow. And we do get them there. I mean, at least I personally feel we get them there because I do see a lesson in the numbers of times I have to go to their classroom because they're in a crisis or the numbers of times they're making mistakes out of recess in those unstructured times and things like that. So they get there. Sorry, I don't know if that's as clear an answer as you wanted, Mr. Neal, but I mean, but we do.
But to his question about what the board could do, like we did the Stronger Connections grant, which allowed us to get Brittany. And we also have, a part of that is the behavior interventions. And part of that grant. So supporting us in that grant, I talked a little bit about West 40 and a potential for opening up a student advocate. So there may be the potential for the board to support that moving forward. I may have more information, but that is something that the board do.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Did you have more, Jared?
Nope, that's it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Rose, not to put you in the spot, but do you have any questions? I have a couple. Could you guys explain to me, like with WIN, is there a math win and a reading win? Or is it?
Yeah. So last year we kind of did, it was both at the same time. We just it was one or the other.
Okay.
And so this year when we decided that we were going to do WIN this way, we knew we were giving math in December this year, right before winter break. And so we took the amount of time and kind of split it in half because we knew we wanted to give equal amount of time to math and we wanted to give it to reading. And we wanted to make sure everybody got math and reading, which is where that kind of time frame came from. So everybody got math, everybody got reading, except the students that are in that pull-out intervention. With an interventionist or Laura or myself, they got whatever their greatest need was. So if they were in math intervention with myself, they only got math that whole time. They weren't in a one or the other, if that makes sense.
And does it happen, did you say twice a week?
For the classroom teachers, yes, it happened twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday for those 40 minutes, which essentially is the same thing as then 4 20-minute sessions every single week. But that would was too many transitions every week for the students to do that when they're rotating classrooms like that. So we did 40-minute sessions instead.
But your pullout kids you see.
But pull-out kids, we see more frequently. We see them 4 days a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, is science, you said was separate, is social studies or is it integrated?
No, it's integrated, but, I mean, you guys can talk a little bit more about that, but I mean, it's, you've got pretty good at how we integrate it in with H.
Yeah, it's basically 1 week per HMH module. We supplement with the social studies text. I mean, we've also created selection quizzes that go along with that, race questions that go along with that, hands-on activities. So it's pretty.
When you're teaching your ELA strategy.
Yes.
The real good so it's, they're not reading the same, go ahead, sorry, that's the important part to add in there.
As in, while tricking them into like applying these strategies that they have learned, like they're having fun applying what they're learning.
And do they get that every day or is it a rotating? Is it social studies one day and science?
No,
another?
science is its own time.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's 3 days a week,
Okay.
for about 30 minutes. So just with everything else, that's where we can build it in there. So I think they do a nice job. The kids have a lot of fun. That, so they're always hands-on along with videos and things like that. So it's been a nice way to change that. So.
And I'm breaking my own rule about not asking questions ahead of time, but as you guys were talking, I forgot to ask, can you give us just a little nugget about how it's going with STEM?
Oh, it's a wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely fun. So I think being able to add that into the rotation of things that we do. I mean, what Miss Osiveric has done with that class, I mean, it really is.
So it's an elective, right? So
No, not
elective. I mean,
yeah, it's a special.
A
Yeah,
special.
we added
That's what
into
you
our
guys call it. Sorry,
special.
elective is middle school.
Right.
Sorry.
So, but no, it's been great. I mean, the stuff that she had blended in with them. I mean, just some of she did some really cool stuff with recycling, where they actually built. They did a Thanksgiving little parade with like with recycled stuff. I mean, and it was it was fun to see. I mean, like it was. On the social studies front, I just shout out 4th grade, like with Black History Month, like they put together Who Am I project, so and I get to use those because I would always highlight someone during that month, and now I can do it at Who Am I, and that's created by the 4th graders, so I do that in my announcements, and then I was able to put the thing up, and as kids come down the hallway, there's a little thing there that they can flip up, or students email me and they stop me in the hallway because I tell me who it is, and then is it this person? Is it today's was hard, but they're having a good time with that, and that was something that through a social studies piece that they put together. So I mean, it's nice to have that stuff.
Nice, thank you. Mary, yeah, and then Cynthia.
Okay. I'm always interested in the number of accelerated students in the accelerated math. So can you give me a number for each grade?
Yes.
I think you mentioned it kind of.
I did. Sorry, let me find my
You have to need to pull it up.
I think it's I think it's 16 and
yeah,
it's
I have it. I just don't want to mess it up.
Yeah, I was gonna say it might be 15 and
I just have to find the right page.
yeah, you keep that all sure.
I know it's definitely 16 in fifth. There's 7 second graders that take 3rd grade math. There are 9 3rd graders that take 4th grade math. There are 15 4th graders that take 5th grade math. And we have 16 6th graders. Well, okay, I'm going to mess you up in just a second. There's 14 5th graders that take
6th grade
math. And there's 2 4th graders that take 6th grade math.
Not 15.
No, there's
Two.
There's 2 4th graders that take 6th grade math, and there's 14 5th graders.
They are all in the same class.
They're in the same class, but 2 4th graders
Yes.
skipped 5th and go to 6th.
So in 3rd grade, you have 107 students, right? That's according to the number of users.
According to that
I
document.
think that's
So you have 9 students out of this number getting into accelerated. Is that how it is?
yes.
Yeah.
Was this the 107?
Currently.
That's
Well, I
last
mean, that's-
year's number,
Well,
right?
yeah, it's pretty close. It's probably, I think it's like
Yeah.
115-ish. I think that's what it is.
Close to those numbers.
Yes.
It just won't
That-
get the numbers.
We had 10. And a parent opted their child out. And put them, and have them go back. So regular. To regular math.
Thank you.
Cynthia?
Yes, just any thoughts on taking that earlier than than how we did it after the break?
Oh,
Get impacted?
I didn't want.
You know, that's a good.
What was the question?
Right.
Sorry.
Oh,
They took it
We
earlier
did.
than
We
they
did in
typically
December
did.
instead of
Oh,
taking.
math? Math. Oh, math.
Come
Yeah.
back from the break.
Yeah.
But we
I
took
mean, I
it
think we
before
should take
left.
math all the time.
I concur. I don't think I don't really.
I don't know that it had I don't know that it made that big of a difference for our students per se. You know, I think ELA, I think we've noticed a trend with reading with students that, you know, the scores for that were disappointing. I'm not sure that it would have looked any different had we done that in January and they come back. I don't know that that would have made that big for that.
I wonder if we had done ELA intervention before math testing, if our ELA, because we did math right before math testing, and we had break room. And then, right? Didn't you
Yeah,
do,
math was our second.
reading was first, then math.
Yeah, math was.
Oh, you mean
then
the
we stayed
win?
with math.
Yeah, for win.
Did we?
Yeah, win, yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
so,
Did math second?
yes.
yeah. So that's, I think, so that was my wonder, yes.
So-
And then they didn't get readings at all, I mean, normal core reading, but not any kind of intervention. So like we're doing this now at primary, which they'll talk to you guys about. We're starting in second grade, just second grade with coming up now, but we're gonna do both all the time. There's gonna be no break. We're wondering, especially with that age, it's different. 3 through 5 is a whole different animal. But I was just wondering if it's because we did reading first.
Well, and one of the biggest things for reading, and it's not an excuse in any way, shape, or form, but like our kids love graphic novels. They love everything in like these little short bursts. And then you look at a math test and you have to read a legit like passage, and then even for them, they're like,
Yeah,
"There's
so
so many
parents
words,"
compressed
you know, like, so you know, so I think that's a part of it, and I think that's why we're so focused on the independent practice with reading with longer text, so that they can overcome that stress of seeing so much word. Because I do think that impacts how they, and so that's why I don't think it would have mattered if we'd have taken it December 8th, right? Today, those big passages.
Any other questions? Anything from you guys?
Dana, I just wanted to say real quick, I really love the idea of the student surveys. You know, asking them about how they feel about things happening in class. I think that's a really great way to kind of get a point across to the students without pointing the finger, and maybe a really great idea to try out even in the other schools.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome.
You do a good job. You got to share it now.
Right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for kicking it off. We'll
Thank
have,
you.
I don't remember who is next.
MS.
Middle school, then primary. Big shoes to follow. Yeah. All right, so we have next discussion items with no action. We have finance fiscal year 2026 tentative budget timeline and process. I assume that is you, Dennis?
Yes, that's correct.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All you. It's on here. Oh, no, it's not.
Sort of trying to read a little bit.
Good evening.
Nice.
Tough presentation to follow, but I'll do my best. Tentative budget provides us with a minimum authority for expenditures and taxing. Typically, the board would bring this before the board in June of every year. Pass the tentative budget, They publish it for the paper at that time for our September board meeting. And it'll be by September 30th of every year, the board approves the final budget. They have a PDF memo in there which kind of goes over the timeline of the budget. In February, I start plugging in node numbers. I also send out an email to the staff, letting them know the budget process has begun. April, I tend to meet with departments and gathering all their information that they got from their staff after the staff has provided them with the budget needs for the upcoming year. In May, I tend to factor in healthcare changes, have to wait until open enrollment is completed, and then that quickly has to be pushed into the budget for the final tentative budget to be brought forth to the Board of Education in June. A lot of work going on right now, just making sure salaries, benefits that are current are there, and that once the new rates are updated, I can update those pretty quickly and get that information updated once the open enrollment changes.
Okay.
Questions about the tentative budget, the process?
Who's the staff? Who's the department heads? Is that department heads each department or?
Typically, we'll meet with the building principals, special education, curriculum, technology. I'll meet with transportation department. I'll meet with my buildings and grounds foreman.
So they all provide input.
They do.
Do you also use historical data?
It utilizes zero-based budgeting approach. I start from zero every year and I build up.
Oh, okay.
So I'll enter in known salaries, known benefits, so I don't roll things from year to year.
Right.
If you ask me, Dennis, the science department needs $100, $100. Just a number out there. More than $100, but for example.
Right. So ours is built from the bottom instead of top down. It goes the other way. Okay.
And that's a pretty standardized budgeting approach. There's a few different ones.
Corporate they tell you what your budget.
Well, you know, and as a teacher that didn't work with zero-based budget, it was, you had $5,000 and you had to use every single penny of it or you lost it the next year. Here, we don't say no to you. We just need to know we do say no on some things, but really actually not, right? But they're getting everything they need. Spending, not wasting that 5,000. We've given them two, so it makes sense.
It does. I just wanted to know how it was built out and so you get it from them. And if it's within, do you give them a range or is this just, this is what they need and then
Tell us what they need.
And then you build from that to
typically the departments and building principals they have a process down where they're going to approve or deny based on need of the building.
Okay.
By the time it gets to me, those things have already been
flushed out,
and then I can bring that forth as long as there's not a significant issue I notice within the budget. Then I bring it forth to the superintendent.
Now, do you share with them their historical data for them to use to help with their budget?
Department heads have access to the financial system, their portion thereof, and within there.
They can look and see, okay. So they can see kind of what my spending was year
Well,
to year.
and Dennis can as the principals too. He'll say, here's what we allocated last year, here's what you spent. So it's a nice
So they
reminder.
can use that as a frame of reference. Okay.
Yeah, it's nice.
Okay. I give a pretty good spreadsheet for the departments. These are the account numbers you have. Here's what you spent year to date. This is the year before. Can you key in? And a lot of departments will actually create tabs and say, okay, this account, what people are asking for. It makes my job a lot.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions from you guys? Rose and Jared. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Next, we have the discussion of the 2025 calendar. So again, this is a discussion item, no action. We have a draft calendar on there. They also provided us with the proviso one, just is historically the board has tried to match, the breaks as possible, not the ending and beginning of the school year, but just the big breaks if we can. And then before we get started looking at it, can you remind me, this has been shared with both
administrators and both you.
Okay.
I'm still waiting to hear from WEA because they told me, and I told them like, look, this meeting, the board is looking at it. Next meeting, the board will vote on it. So we did have a change that the original we gave them. There is an election next year. Now, it's not a presidential election, but it's an election, and we were in school, so we had to switch some things around to make sure that we don't have. It's problematic when you have students in a building during an election, so we didn't want to do that. So we had to switch just that, and they had gotten one where we were in school. We missed it.
Gotcha.
Is it very similar to this past year, or is it?
The timeline, I mean, the lining up, yeah, I mean, so Proviso was going back a week earlier. They're going back like mid-August. I mean, that's super early. And we're the 20. We're like the
We're
next
going
week.
back to 14.
Yeah.
They get up.
Because they have
They have
more
more
days
days
off
off.
than us. You know, they'll take different days
And the
off where
days
there's no
off.
attendance. Like you have to have the minimum amount of days. So you'll see their take off like Veterans Day, they're off. Pulaski Day, where we're not. And so those 2 days they're off the whole week of Thanksgiving. They're not even in school, and teachers aren't in school. Where we are, our teachers are, our teachers have conferences those days. They do their conferences at night, right? But I think the most important is spring break and Christmas are the same. And so the commitment from this is really the first year where every feeder school is on the same spring break.
That's nice.
Yeah, we have not ever done that, but this was, with the change in leadership, it was more like, hey, there's more of us. Let's kind of talk to them about what we want to see and how it affects us.
So can I ask a question on the, is March 17th? Is that the election day? Okay, because I was like, why are we having a random Tuesday? And then is there a reason, because we usually have the Wednesdays towards the end of the month, I don't know why, but when we have them, is there a reason that the February 4th is a half day?
Yeah, that's our day-to-day. So that used to be end of January. This year we moved it to the beginning, the next week, which is February. That way the teachers have a faculty meeting and they look at data the same day. So it's a longer day.
Yesterday was
It
that
gives us
day,
one
so
more
it
week.
got longer and they're able to do more work with their data.
Gotcha.
So you're done with mid-year testing and.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Nice. Good.
I like ending school in May.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions, concerns? Looks pretty
standard.
straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Rose, anything? You guys? Okay. All right, so then we'll see this at the next, at the next meeting for approval then.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then, okay, now for, great, action items. And Laura, where did you put the one we moved?
I put it all the way on the bottom.
Yeah, see, it says second reading.
Yeah, you might have to
I'd
refresh.
refresh. Sorry, let me just refresh.
It will now be item G.
Okay. I got it. All right. So first one is the first reading of policy 2-40 board member qualification. So this is this is one that we looked at last meeting and made, I think we went with press on this one. It was pretty straightforward. Any questions on, oh, sorry, I need a motion.
That's what I said, and then he said no.
Sorry, no, I need a motion to open the discussion for the approval of the first, the policy 2-40 board member qualification.
Moved.
Moved by Gina, second by Mary. Thank you, Stephanie, I was just rolling.
I even turned to the page, I was like, I thought it
I was asking Phil though, because I wasn't trying to interrupt.
No, but you needed to, because I was on a roll down the road.
Yeah.
Okay, now does anyone have any questions or concerns about this one? All right, roll call vote, please.
Oh, that's me. Yeah. Boyd.
Aye.
Panizek.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Ortiz.
Aye.
Kernich. Sanchez. Aye. Wazlowski.
Aye.
6.
No, 7.
7.
Yeah.
I know, I was 7 ayes, 0 nays, 0 absent.
Motion carries. All right, now we're on rhythm here. Okay, so the next one, I need a motion to open the discussion for the approval of the first reading of policy 2-70 vacancies on the school board. First, or Stephanie, Cynthia. Any questions or concerns on this one? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Wazlowski.
Aye.
Aye. Kernich. Ortiz.
Aye.
Neal. Neal.
Oh, aye, sorry.
Oh, it doesn't count. Kernich. Oh, no, not Kernich. Panizek.
Aye.
Sorry about that. And Boyd.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays, 0 absent.
Motion carried. Now we are going to town here. First reading, the next one, I need a motion to open discussion for the first reading of policy 2-125, board member compensation expenses. Moved by Cynthia. Second by Mary. This one always is, you know, a little misleading because there is no compensation, but thanks for reminding us.
Right.
Right? Maybe open for discussion. Right?
Prohibited.
Misleading, right? Bold, it's bolded too.
It's prohibited.
Yeah. Any questions or concerns on this one? All right, roll call vote, please.
Okay, we have Boyd.
Aye.
Panizek.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Ortiz.
Aye.
Kernich. Aye. Wazlowski.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays, 0 absent.
Motion carried. All right. Now I need a motion to open discussion for the approval of the first reading of policy 2-140, communications to and from the board. Moved by Gina.
Second.
Second by Stephanie. And I think this one was a straightforward one. We went with press for. Any questions, concerns? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Okay, Wazlowski.
Aye.
Aye. Kernich. Aye. Ortiz.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Panizek.
Aye.
And Boyd.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays, 0 absent.
Motion carries. All right. I need a motion to open discussion for the approval of policy 7. Sorry, did I say the first reading? The first reading of policy 7-170 vandalism. Moved by Cynthia.
Second.
Second by Gina. And this one just had the updates on the legal and cross-reference, so nothing we had changed. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Okay, we have Boyd.
Aye.
Panizek.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Ortiz.
Aye.
Kernich. Aye. Wazlowski.
Aye.
Aye. 0 nays, 0 absent.
Motion carries. All right, last of the first readings. So I need a motion to open discussion for the approval of the first reading in adoption of policy 2-265, Title IX grievance procedure. Moved by Gina. Second by Cynthia. So this is the one, there was a little discussion and I had kind of sent out an email about it too. So on January 9th, 2025, there was a case, State of Tennessee versus Cardona, that struck down the 2024 Title IX sex discrimination regulations that just went into effect in August, which we had just updated all of our procedures for. So the regulations are no longer in effect, and the prior version, which was issued in 2020, is restored. As we noted, our HLRT gave us a couple options we can do. Press is still working on getting all of the updates made, and they're hoping to have it in their regular update in April. So HLRT is, I think their preference was that if we update it now, this main one, and then we'll do the other kind of pieces as press comes along. If we decide that we don't want to revert back to the 2021 now, they are recommending that we put out a disclaimer, which they would work and write with us. So that's our, so the motion is this one, the first reading and adoption would go back to the, taking us back to the 2021 that we already had approved. And the only other note we wanted to make is that typically we have to do a first reading and a second reading, but we're able to do a first reading and adoption in one motion because our policy allows us to do this in order to be compliant. Because there was a legal compliance that we're out of compliance on. Right, that was a mouthful.
Yeah.
So did that make sense?
Yep. For me, it did.
Okay.
So we can wait and put a disclaimer. Disclaimer recorded Bridget.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, Press just is working on getting all the updates through. So, yeah. So the motion on the floor or the table is to revert back to the 2020.
Yep.
It's Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
We're not like going against the grain.
Right. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Okay, Boyd,
Aye.
Mazik,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Ortiz,
Aye.
Kernich, Wazowski.
Aye.
Ayes, 0 nays, 2 absent.
Motion carries. Okay, and then this next one, we'll probably just have to put it down in technical form. Okay, so this next one, oops, I keep trying to click on it. I need a motion to open discussion for the approval of the second reading and adoption of policy 7-10, equal educational opportunity. Moved by Mary. I'll second it. All right. So Mary, you said you had some questions on this one?
Thank you for moving on.
Yeah.
Top of the discussion. So before voting, I just wanted to clarify some things. So when we talk about in the first paragraph, like for gender identity, like I don't know who's the right question to ask us. What kind of identities are we acknowledging? Are we accommodating students? Are we in a position to accommodate students with gender dysphoria? Providing, gender affirmative care. Because, there's a lot of stuff that in there, so I would like to clarify all those things and even granting access to more facilities without discrimination, genders.
Sure. Well, I mean, you can probably speak to this a little bit more, but I think if we go back to the last meeting, would have like the footnotes in there, but my understanding is that this is based on
And this is
state
not,
law.
right, not under the district discretion based on the.
Yeah, we're in line with
With
what the current law is, the current, whatever is happening that you're hearing on the news right now hasn't made its way to us, but right now we are
Adhering to what?
adhering to what.
Right.
What's there?
Okay, so we
So if there are,
this.
for genders, for people who identify as, if they were identifying as a female, then they have access to
So do you have gender neutral bathrooms or
Gender neutral, we have locations,
you do have?
yeah, a location, yeah, like they use a nurse's office.
Okay, so, I just want to clarify, just want to understand, like, if, somebody who was a boy comes next week saying that I feel, girl, and then you let that student access girls' bathroom.
Not that easily.
No, because, I just want to clarify, clear all this.
Yeah, not that easily. It doesn't, I can't just say today, I'm feeling like a boy, I'm gonna go in the boys' bathroom. I mean, these are things that we've got plans in place, we've talked to parents, we've talked to students. I mean, we had a student that years ago, so this isn't like, it's not my thing, I get to change. It doesn't work like that. There's a system, we have a process. Right. We don't ever deny, I mean, we accept and we help and we support, but we don't ever just say.
I just wanted to clarify that because,
Yeah, that's what people think. And I'm glad you asked. People do think that they just come in one day saying, hey, today I want to be a boy. But no student has
It's
ever.
a community. Some parents are anxious. They want to know, like, they don't want some other gender to be in the other gender's bathroom, especially.
Yeah.
So, and you have gender affirming care. You have that facility or the service in the school building, like to provide counseling and social. You do.
Well, I mean, I don't know what you're actually asking for. So like if we worked with a family and they have said that our child is now, right, I mean, we have the social worker, but that would be for.
You don't have a separate counselors or anything.
Or no, I mean, our counselors serve all our students, so they're not.
So the counselors are trained to talk to parents and the students who are going through this process.
Counsel, social workers, yeah.
We actually had in-service lawyers years ago to the administration about this too. So we all were trained on, this area as well.
Yeah, and then if you go back to, it was at the December meeting is when we first looked at it. So like when you look at the press version, it has the footnotes of, so for the gender identity was footnote 3, and it has the legal, orders in here that it would really be following. So it's got accommodating transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming students for case-by-case procedures. School officials may use this form, and it's got the C-710 AP1. So
that will include participating in sports too, or any other extracurricular activity.
I mean, as far as I know, as far as the legal requirements, yes.
But again, as Delphia said, it is a process, right?
Yeah. I mean,
get to that sports or get to that activity, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's strengthening our commitment to affirming and inclusive students. It was established by the Affirming and Inclusive School Task Force, which is at the state level.
Do we have a designated person that kind of handles that, or is it?
I can't hear I only hear bits.
I'm sorry, I said, is there a designated?
So I heard what you said, I didn't hear what the question was.
But she's just asking, is there a designated person that works when we have students in this? But it would be the principal and the social worker and the counselor. That's the designated person.
Yeah, and since I am the Title IX person, if they needed me, I would help as well. Yeah.
But I think as we're seeing, whatever is happening at the federal level, there's changes happening. So when that comes down to us usually through press, through our lawyers, they will acknowledge what we have to do or not do anymore. So we just stay in line with what is said. We're not like going off on our own. We're just being in line. So if they say that, however, for sports, if they say this is how you have to do it, then that's how we do it. We don't make our own rules.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
It's better to get information.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions on this one? All right. I am in the wrong meeting, so
Oh, you went budget.
I toggled back, so I went to the December meeting so I could look at the footnotes. So I'm going back to tonight and on to G. Yo, all right, roll call vote, please.
Okay, Wazlowski,
Aye.
Sanchez, aye. Kernich, aye. Ortiz,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Music. And Boyd.
Aye.
We have 6 ayes, 1 nay, 0 absent.
Motion carried. All right. Second audience comments. All right. Now we need to move to executive session. I need a motion for the board to retire into closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of a particular public body has been filed or is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding will be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting. D, collective negotiating matters between the district and its employees or its representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. And then E, the placement of individual students in special education programs or other matters relating to individual students. Moved by Cynthia.
Second.
Second by Gina. Roll call vote, please.
Wazlowski,
Aye.
Sanchez, Kernich, Ortiz,
Aye.
Neal,
Aye.
Music. And Boyd.
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nays, 0 absent.
Motion carries and the board is at closed session at 7:33.